Amazing news this week. Since CAFE regulations were altered at the start of this year, and since these new K-trucks will be produced domestically here in the good old USA, it means these trucks will not suffer a chicken tax. It is about time some US automakers stepped up to fill the gap in the affordable light truck market. And I do mean truly like a light truck, not the sad excuse of the Ford Ranger relaunch. I do like the Ford Maverick though. That still wasn't quite like tiny two-cab pickup like I remember from the 90s, but it was definitely a step in the right direction, which is why I'm so ridiculously proud of what we're about to talk about today. And I'm honestly shocked that one of the big three American automakers hasn't done this already. Just kidding, I know why they haven't. It's because of corporate greed, excessive feature bloat, and predatory loans because they want to suck people drive 100 grand trucks. But this week, I'm not going to be negative because I genuinely need a break, so go watch my other car market videos if you aren't caught up with the stupidity of used car prices. But ooh la la, am I grateful to say that we are so back. A Michigan-based automaker Slate Trucks have released a new vehicle aptly named the Blank Slate. The Blank Slate truck is aiming to be priced in the $20,000 range. It has the bare-bone minimum that you would expect from a simple truck. The best part is, if you really do want more options or you want it to be more custom, they have multiple packages to choose from to alter its utility. You want to make it look more like a Jeep? There's a package for that. You want it to look more like a compact SUV? There's a package for that. You want to slam it on its nuts and turn it into an Australian Ute? There's no package for that, but I'm sure the aftermarket will get on that as soon as possible because this will sell like hotcakes, so you know the aftermarket is about to be huge. I am so glad that these are all just options and that they have the ability to just buy a completely bare bones model because I'm sick and tired of feature bloat and feature creep. Feature creep is the biggest scam of modern automobiles, American or otherwise. I don't know where people got off to thinking that they all needed 7-seater cars with 45 cubic feet of storage with a big 500 horsepower twin turbo V8 on 20-inch rims, all resulting in a 6,000 pound SUV that gets 16 miles per gallon. And yes, I see lots of people complaining on social media that this truck is too plasticky, but aka polycarbonate whatever. But you know what else is glorified plastic? Fiberglass. You know how many cars are made of fiberglass or actually polycarbonate as well? My Corvette for one. No one, not a single soul whines about this car being plastic. Also, my Mustang, both front and rear bumpers were also plastic. I would know, I've taken them off multiple times. I think a 20 grand truck being made of the same material as basically every other car is made of these days, because again, we aren't really making vehicles out of metal anymore like the 70s and 80s. I think that's completely fine, you know, especially when you consider that metal is super heavy and unpainted metal, especially as we saw in the Cybertruck, is known to rust. And yes, this vehicle will be sold unpainted to further save on costs. I do think that's a valid criticism if that does bother you, because then it means you have to go to the extra step of either vinyl wrapping it or choosing to paint it yourself. But again, if you really want to save money, and they actually do offer some colors for it, you will have to pay extra though, so it's not going to be the advertised under 20 grand that they say. I still think that's a fantastic price that they aim for, and I still think it's kind of cool that in this day and age they sell an unpainted vehicle, and it being made of plastic means it doesn't have to worry about rusting. Another somewhat valid complaint is a lot of people wished it did come with an internal combustion engine variant, and seeing how the whole infinite growth Ponzi scheme that was this electric car craze that we've been sold onto this past decade didn't quite come close to living up to the future adoption that everyone hyped it up to be, I do think that's a valid complaint. I do think a lot of people would benefit from a ICE version as well, or even just a hybrid version. I think if this company wants to be more environmentally friendly and maybe they don't want to go full ICE, a lot of people would still love a hybrid. If they do want to go ICE, you can actually still make something extremely efficient with just an inline-4 turbo or a hybrid V6. Again, I don't need this thing to be the fastest car ever. It doesn't have to be a 64-valve quad-turbo W16, and that probably wouldn't even fit in it. But the reality is, for people who live in apartments or in the countryside, they can't just hook up their car to something in their garage overnight to charge it. And I do think that's a valid complaint too, you know, why people don't want this to just be an EV. And again, we now know that the whole EV craze wasn't as hyped up as it was to be. This isn't me saying that EVs are bad vehicles. I think this is a huge step in the right direction for what kind of EV vehicle should be popularized, not just in America, but has already been popularized around the world. Something small, utilitarian, super efficient, great idea. But again, I would love a nice ICE option or even hybrid option. Me being a car enthusiast, obviously I have to mention the obligatory soul and feel of an engine, because seriously, imagine if one of these small trucks had a V8, that would be a total riot. It'd rumble as much as my cammed Harley probably did, because the engine would literally shake the whole frame. And again, again, I know that's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. That might actually scare some people, but I find it extremely endearing. And if that's not something that excites you, again, I'll totally put up with just a V6. Hopefully that's something in the foreseeable future, either from this company or from one of their competitors or any future company that wants to participate in this return to small revolution. Seriously, if these trucks are attacking an industry blind spot that has existed for decades, then yet another blind spot may appear if neither of these companies think about making a combustion K-truck styled vehicle. Therefore, whichever company decides to finally make one of those will make even bigger gops of money and become an even bigger overnight success. Like, bro, we've been asking for a company to just go back to the basics for a while now. Remember, most Americans don't drive because they want to, they only drive because they have to, since it's the only way to reliably get around. So if the government's too lazy to fund better transportation infrastructure like trains, trams, or more bicycle lanes, at the very least, they should be encouraging corporations to make affordably priced cars, because if not, I'm gonna ride my motorbike until the end of time. But with cars like these in the future, at prices like these, I might look forward to finally getting a nice replacement vehicle, and I definitely look forward to younger Gen Z finally having the opportunity to buy something that's reliable, utilitarian, and they can be proud of, because this is very well designed. I think it's cool. It's a great idea. If I do buy one of these bad boys, I'm definitely going to strap my Super Cub in the back. I'm so happy. You have no idea. This has genuinely been the best news I've seen in quite some time. And the best part is the good news keeps coming because it's not alone. Say hello to the Telo. The new Telo MT1 is yet another American K-style truck featuring 4 doors and a truck bed, all at the size of a Mini Cooper. It can even fold its back seats down to make the truck bed even longer, and just take a look at this clip.
It is actually larger than a Rivian's, and not only is the bed size bigger, but the midgate drops down, expanding to 8 feet, holding full sheets of plywood.
This one will be a bit pricier, being an estimated $41,000, because it is yet another EV, but this time it claims to make 500 horsepower, and I'll be completely honest with you, I would gladly trade away some of that horsepower. Like, I'll still settle for a 300 horsepower vehicle if it means this truck will cost like 25 grand instead. I get that there's this weird expectation that American electric vehicles must be fast because of Tesla, but I hope Americans realize that they don't need a sub 3-second land missile just to go grocery shopping. I personally was always okay with slower electric cars, and I think most of the general public, when given the opportunity to actually embrace and buy some of these vehicles, will start to understand the appeal. Because to be fair, I can see why people don't like slower electric vehicles like the Nissan Leaf. I respect it a lot, but admittedly its design is kind of lacking, just for lack of words. We don't get cool quirky vehicles like the Honda E, and I'm not gonna never not mention that car at any given opportunity, because you cannot make me ever delete the memory of this car in my head. We, the United States people, were robbed of the Honda E, this adorable little Wally looking car. Please, Honda, bring it over here soon. The crazy part is they actually might, since if these small vehicles sell super well in the coming years, it'll open up every car manufacturer's eyes to the idea of, wait, we don't have to keep making vehicles bigger and bigger each year. Honestly, it took way longer than it should have for smaller cars to finally make a return to the American market, but to be fair, this was only something that could finally happen after a stupid 50-year-old law finally got revised.
It's been 84 years.
A lot of manufacturers started to float around the idea of finally changing this outdated and backwards accomplishing law, and as of February 2025, the current US Transportation Secretary signed a memorandum that their staff essentially is going to try to reset the process of corporate average fuel economy standards, CAFE aka. Basically, they'll try to close the loopholes that have been abused for decades now, and basically rework it for something that should have long been overdue in the post-2000 internet era, much less the post-2020 quarantine era. Like, it's actually crazy that this law is from half a century ago, and it's basically caused this stupid manufacturer size arms race that snowballed into the massive 80 grand, 100 grand SUVs and trucks that we're stuck with buying these days. This is just me massively oversimplifying how the CAFE law failed. There are several channels that have gone more in depth over how stupid this law is. But basically, it made it where small wheelbase civilian vehicles weren't profitable for companies to make. So sure, morally it makes sense to make these standards, but again, companies love making profit, and they will find a loophole to allow them to increase profit margins. So they quickly realized, hey, wait a second, we can make larger vehicles to pass the commercial vehicle standards, and that's how we got in the situation of larger and larger and larger vehicles for the past decades. It's also why companies like Ford just stopped making cars completely. It's not the only car company to do that. A lot of of car companies these days don't offer hatchbacks, compact sedans, or even normal sedans. All they offer are massive trucks, SUVs, and maybe a crossover. Kind of funny that most car manufacturers don't actually manufacture cars. They're just glorified utility vehicle makers that are marketing it and psyoping us into believing that these light infantry vehicles are daily drive vehicles. Like when they say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, the original cafe law is definitely one of the best and most literal exhibits of that phrase, as the roads have literally become like hell in this past half century. Having this law finally be revised will actually save not just American car buyers, but also car culture. I'm so sick of seeing cars get bigger and bigger each year. Like seriously, cars have genuinely been getting larger and larger without any signs of a downwards trend until literally this video. What would our plan be? Were we just going to make lanes bigger and bigger? Were we just going to keep making parking spaces bigger and bigger? Will garages have to get larger and larger? Like most cities in the US are already going bankrupt trying to keep up with road infrastructure due to all the massive potholes that now appear as a result of heavier vehicles that do 30 times more road damage than a motorbike, because road wear is exponential, by the way, not linear. So a 6,000 pound SUV isn't twice as damaging to the road as a 3,000 pound sedan. And to be fair, dark store theory is a thing. I have made a short about it, and there is a video by Not Just Bikes covering it. Basically, cities are getting sucked dry and bankrupt, which is why road quality is massively deteriorating because they don't have the money to fix it. However, a lot of people in that video commented a very good point. You wouldn't need to fix the roads, much less even care about money to fixing them, if the roads weren't breaking as often in the first place. And again, 95% of people are commuting single in these massive light infantry vehicles to work every morning and every evening, and we're surprised that potholes aren't disappearing from our cities. And the funny thing is, I shouldn't just blame consumers, because a lot of people don't actually want these massive SUVs, but the reality is they only bought it because these automakers literally didn't sell anything else, which is why I'm all the more glad that someone out here is trying to set in motion the change we need to see, which is a return to smaller vehicles.
Good for your soul.
I'm extremely hopeful for the future, and I wish both Telo and Slate Trucks the absolute best, because the better that they sell, the more likely one of the big three American automakers will finally open their eyes and realize, oh, this works. This sells. Small vehicles sell again, guys. We should try this. Just give us a truck. That's what we've been wanting for more than a decade now. Like, we just want a vehicle that moves and costs 20 grand new. So that means people 3 to 5 years later can buy it for 10 to 15 grand used. And both the new and used car market can finally heal. We don't need these feature creep, feature bloated, massive vehicles that we've been slapped into thinking we needed. We don't need 80 grand to 100 grand vehicles. We just don't. Apologize for getting a little heated here. This was definitely some residual trauma from all the stupid car prices I had to stare at in my previous videos, but yeah. And before this makes any SUV drivers mad, the reality is you have to accept that everything's a trend. Remember the wagon trend. Remember the minivan trend. SUVs will still stay for the same reason that minivans and wagons still stayed, but they will fall out of the mainstream zeitgeist as these compact vehicles become popular again, as the general public quickly remembers that, wait, we can drive normal sized vehicles just to commute, because most of us aren't carrying 7 people around with us, full trunks of storage and groceries and, 10,000 planks of wood. I hope that not only does the US market get more and more small vehicles, but we start to even see some foreign manufacturers like the Toyota compact truck that's been all over social media. Maybe that might finally come over to the States when they see how successful that these Slate trucks are doing and these little Telos are doing. Maybe we might even get some European models. Of course, for now we have tariffs to think about, so I don't think we'll get those anytime soon. But again, I want the groundwork to be laid in the next 5 years. Maybe I'll finally be able to buy the Honda E. If all these vehicles sell well enough, Honda will finally bring the Honda E over. That's what this video was actually about. Please, America, just let me have the Honda E. Donald Trump, please let me have the Honda E. Just give me the Honda E, man. I just want the Honda E. Anyways, that's it for this video. Like this video and share it to your friends or your pet cat. I don't care. And I hope you are as excited about this news as I am, and definitely share it to your fellow car enthusiasts, because I sure as hell know they'll love it. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more weekly situations. I'll see y'all next time. Bladed Angel out.